Hey friends, it's Savannah Hufford with Keller Williams in Johnson City here, and I have a treat for you today. We are here with Tommy and Dorothy Hale, and they're going to tell us all about the rich history of their farm right here on TBD Harmony Road in Jonesborough, Tennessee. From how the farm originated, to cracking walnuts to get the first piece of the farm, to battling it out at an auction, and keeping the farm alive and together. So it really is a great treat and a great interview, and I can't wait for you to hear their story.
This was a tunnel farm, is what the people here said. So it's tunnel or tunnel, depends on who you're talking to. They lived in Greene County and moved up here in 1880, and three sisters and a brother bought the farm. And Barbara Ford Tunnel, which that was her wedding quilt that's up there. And she got married, and the quilt was done in 1849 when she got married. And the three sisters and a brother signed a covenant that they'd never marry, all four of them, and stay here and take care of their mother. Now there was other brothers, Spence Tunnel. My father was a grandfather, great-grandfather. Two of the three sisters never married. After the mother died, one of the sisters packed her basket with her personal belongings. If you could imagine a basket, what's called an egg basket or an apple basket, put her stuff in it, went down to Harmony Grocery, which is just down there, and married Jerry Cox. The other members of the family didn't speak to her for 2 years because she broke the covenant, even though her mother was already dead. So it was kind of weird. But they had bought the land from Jerry Cox, the first part of it. The second part of it, my grandmother Hale married a Hunt, needed to build a house and so forth, so they sold the back part of the farm, which is, I guess, 40 acres, and it's a little bit different as far as the way it's laid out. And the three sisters and the brother paid the Hunt by cracking walnuts and selling the walnuts kernels. That's how they was able to purchase the back. If you can imagine cracking that many black walnuts.
Right, I was about to say, how many walnuts do you think they had to crack?
Too many.
And my dad was teasing my mother. He was 6 years older. He was been 14. And he told my mother at that time he was going to marry her. She didn't want anything to do with him. But he ended up marrying her later on in life. So when everybody died and they settled the estate, my mother ended up with this farm, which was the tunnel farm, and my sister got the home place, the Hale place, because it had a house on it. This house was pretty much gone by the time I came along. It was, at one time, was one room. The loft upstairs was a tin roof, but that's how that we got the initial part of the farm, this first part.
How many acres was that first part?
85 roughly.
Okay. So you were about half of the farm at that point? Okay.
And then we acquired, Dorothy can tell you about it, but then we acquired Smith Farm, which was over the hill, the 18.8 acres with the view on the backside. And then we got the bacon place, which was, we got half of it and the Fords got half of it. That was, we got roughly 55 acres. And they got the rest of 118 acres is what that size of that was. The Hunt house, Paul Bacon had bought it, but the Hunt house was a large house and had 3 fireplaces and on it, and it actually had a ballroom on the 2nd floor. So, and ballroom, we think of a huge thing, but back then there wasn't that many people in the community. We didn't have, except over on the back side where we call the Smith Farm, that was the only road frontage we had. And it's about a mile over there. And if we hadn't have bought that, we would not have been able to have built this house, because you have to have road frontage to get the loan.
The Bacon Farm was an absolute auction. The older lady had to be put in a nursing home, and of course she did live a lot longer than I'm sure they thought, because I think she was close to 100 before she died. And so they had put up that farm. So when she passed away, then they told the family, okay, we now have, the state said we have to have our money. So that's when they put they always then just put the place that's been taken by the nursing home up for sale. Well, we knew that there was a sign up and so forth, but we didn't really know too much about it. And we wasn't interested at that point, because both of us had jobs where we traveled all the time. And so the last thing we needed was to try to have to see about something else. And so late one night, it was getting to be really late, the phone rings and Tommy takes the phone call, and it's a person that we really don't know. But he said, I really need to tell you all something. That farm next to you all, there's a big developer is going to buy it, and he's going to divide it into 100 1-acre lots and set double wides on it. And he said that it will absolutely ruin your property. So we talked about it, and so we decided, okay, we have no choice. We have to get that. We just have to stop that. But we knew it was going to be hard for us to come up with enough revenue to buy the whole thing. So the couple that backs up to us off of Hartmantown Road, they're a lot younger than us, but we thought, well, they both have good jobs and so forth, and they're not going to want all of that right up against their property. So Tommy decides to go over, and they laugh now because they said when he knocked on the front door, they thought, who on earth is that? Because they didn't know us from a hole in the wall. We started working together then with them and figured out a way for us to get the property. The day of the sale arrives, and we see the developer. We know he's there. The interesting thing about those types of sales, though, they divided it into lots first, but the 7 lots. And they were really strange. They were just long strips to me. And but of course we weren't bidding. We had a gentleman that was bidding for us, because we didn't want that developer to know who was bidding on it. After they had sold the 7 lots, had divided it into 7 lots, had sold that, then this auction company says, okay, we now only have 2 people that's eligible to bid on the total farm.
You had to bid to,
and you had to have bought 2 lots. But the gentleman who was working for us and the Fords, he made sure that we had 2 lots. Then they announced that Tommy was one of the people, and then this other developer was the other person. So it's now going to be bid between these 2 people. And that auction company, they would come up to me all the time and they'd say, you better be bidding on this. You bet, this is going to be right up against your property. You need. And I wanted to say we are, but we didn't didn't, I just didn't act. We just kept it secret. But anyway, then they opened it all up again, and they started bidding, and it was getting really close to what we had determined that between the Fords and us we could pay. But the gentleman who lived up here across from us, who had been in this neighborhood forever and had known Tommy from the time he was born, he was standing by that developer, and so he just asked him if he knew what he was doing. And he said, you're getting ready to ruin the Hales, and you don't need this. You have, he was a multimillionaire then. He said, you don't need this. Why are you doing this? And so he bid one more time, and he stopped. And we were right up to the edge of where we could go. And we thought, thank God it's over. But then we looked up, and here comes 2 more developers that's rushing in. And the auctioneers said, okay, we've got 2 more developers. We've got 2 more. We have to open it up again. And I looked, and I knew one of them really well. And I thought, this is really wild. And so I just went back there, and I just told him, I said, we finally have got this, and we haven't slept. It's been terrible because we didn't know if we was going to be able to buy it or not. And you don't need this. And I said, if you buy this, I'll never speak to you again. And he looked at me, and he just started rolling his plats up of the property. And the other gentleman that was with him, the other developer, he didn't know who I was. And so he said, who is that? And this person that was my friend, he said, that's Dorothy Hale, that's Tommy Hale's wife. And he said, we're going back to Jonesborough. So they just left. Yeah. And so then that's how we ended up getting that property.
That's awesome. What year was that happened?
Oh, that
about
was
2001.
Somewhere along it, yeah.
So when did you all start running cattle on the farm?
Almost immediately.
Well, we were running cattle on this farm.
This farm,
original farm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we weren't showing cattle then. We just had cattle that we sold primarily at the stockyards. And then both of us had grown up showing cattle. That's how I got money to go to college, was showing steers.
Really?
We decided that we might like to get a herd that we could. So there was a breed that was relatively new to the area, and we thought maybe we could build a herd, because some of the other breeds we might have really liked to have had, but it's going to cost an awful lot of money. So we decided to go with the Solera breed. So then we ended up hiring a herdsman, which means that's the person who makes primarily the decisions, and gets all the cattle broke and ready for us to have to be able to get them into the show ring. We also sponsored a lot of youth that didn't have the resources to purchase an animal, but we would let them come in and work with an animal, and then they'd get to show it, and then we'd take them to what we call junior nationals. So we would travel with 25 head.
Really?
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
And then see with those young people we was working with, those junior nationals was held all over the United States. We had them in Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma.
The juniors got the show money that we didn't take it.
We didn't take that.
And we felt it was a good thing. Yeah. We got a lot more out of it than the main reason you did those shows was it was your advertising. not that you didn't make money from shows.
Well, we called the farm TDH, and that was for Tommy and Dorothy Hale.
Not Tom, Dick, and Harry.
No, not Tom, Dick, and Harry, that's what somebody said first. We said, no, it's Tommy and Dorothy Hale. And so TDH, became the call for that particular operation.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, at the peak of the farm, how many animals did y'all have here at one time?
With what we leased, and we had, I'd say, right at 300 head at one time.
Yeah.
The other thing, whenever you are tattooing, you tattooed the calves within the next 2 to 3 days after they were born. You tattooed them in their ear, and that's how you keep up with who they are by year, and by number. Cattle that were really good, but they would go make show calves because, as like I said, they were high-headed, meaning that they were strong-willed.
Yeah, I've seen some beef mamas, and they don't play around.
No, the mothers and the Celere breed are more maternal than other breeds. I mean, they came over from central France, and the reason we got them is because we wanted our kids to be able to show cattle and get first, second, or third place.
Okay, ours starts the lower part. See, there's a strip through there that goes to Mike and Carol.
50 foot wide.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that comes in there, and then that backs up to that house up there on the corner. The people that bought that house is from Alaska. And I guess the only other thing we wanted to talk about the farm is the road frontage from Harmony Road, because that way we was always a little bit concerned that it was somewhat landlocked. And the gentleman that had the property, he really specified in his will that his daughter was the executor of, that we be given the option to buy frontage, because we had tried to get frontage from him while he was alive, but he never would do anything. But we were really so thankful that in his will, that's the way he left it, that we were to be given the option to buy road frontage. So that way we have road frontage from Harmony, and then you can have road frontage from the backside. He was a very, very nice neighbor.
And the
awesome.
Harmony Church that also has, road frontage, has been wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
They have been so giving as far as, we cut part of their land for hay or for pasture or whatever.
Another thing that we did, and we didn't think about it until a few years, but we didn't cut down the walnut trees. We have 3 walnut trees in the backyard because of the older people that's where they got the walnuts that they cracked to buy the property. Really? And so we left the walnut trees. And then there was one walnut tree that was up on the ridge on top of the hill, and we kept it until it had to be cut down. It became so diseased. But then we did find a gentleman in Greene County that made wooden bowls out of it, so that we could give Tommy's children and his sister a wooden bowl from the tree. And then we kept one of the wooden bowls. So that,
like
because that goes
doughbowl.
all the way back.
Yeah. To like the beginning of the...
Yeah, because since that was such a part of the history of the farm.
The Hale, my great-grandfather, died in Delaware prison. He was fought for the South, and he was captured with the Yankees in the battle before Vicksburg. And my mother painted 2 pictures of the Hale cabin if someone buys our land and eventually ends up with the house, because with the house we built with that we didn't buy that many antiques and put them in here. They are heritage from passed down through the generations, and the stone and the fireplaces Dorothy and I picked up off of the ridge here. Whoever purchases is not going to have the family connections, but we built this house with the intention of, if you came here, the house would be like a fleece-lined running suit. It would feel that warm to you. And we feel like that we accomplished that in this house.
There's a lot of people who are not interested in dealing with this much property, and they have other, ideas, and they'd rather just, have a home on it. And I think they still would have an advantage, of many things, because you can see different things, and there's different. The lowlands are entirely different from the ridges. The ridges are very interesting in that you can see long distances, and in the evening, if you're into, stargazing and doing those kinds of things, it's just delightful.